Hello and welcome to the Will or Trust What's Your Plan podcast. I'm Terence Quinn, an estate planning attorney dedicated to helping families like yours secure their futures and protect their assets. Hey, welcome to episode 6 of Will or Trust What's Your Plan. Today we're going to jump all into guardianships and conservatorships. What are they? How do they work? When do you need it? We're going to dig into that. I'm going to jump right in and read from the book Will or Trust the difference between guardianship and conservatorship. So conservatorship is a legal process where a court appoints an individual, the conservator, to manage the financial and or personal affairs of someone unable to do so themselves. Guardianship is similar to conservatorship, but typically involves the care of minors or adults incapable of managing their own decisions. Guardianship is typically about health care and well-being, whereas conservatorship in most states is typically about managing finances. And so when you have not taken the time to create the right kind of plan, you haven't put powers of attorney in place in the right kind of way, episode 5, watch that again, then if someone needs to manage business for you, because you can't yourself. Let's say, for example, you can't make decisions for yourself. If someone needs to be able to do that, they have to go to court and they have to get that authority. Now, I don't want to make it sound like probate court is all terrible. It's not. It's put in place for great reasons. Many times I have people come to me because they have a family member who's managing things. I have a client case right now where there's someone whose sister was managing the matters for their mom, and she wasn't doing things correctly. She was keeping the other daughter, my client, out of the whole process and wasn't allowing her to see her and was causing trouble whenever she would show up and wasn't handling the money correctly, was paying for her own bills with the money. Well, my client decided to file for guardianship and conservatorship so that a judge could get involved and rectify that whole thing, and that's exactly what happened. So I want to make sure this is clear. Probate court is a good thing. However, it's even better to avoid it if possible through powers of attorney. That was last episode. But if you need to get it because for whatever reason, the person who your parent or whoever it was didn't plan correctly, probate court is where you go. Now, when you go to court to get guardianship or conservatorship, it's really a two-step process. The first step is you have to convince the court that the person you're pursuing guardianship or conservatorship for can't make decisions for themselves. So you have to go to court. You have to talk about what's wrong with them. You have to establish what they can and can't do. And that's kind of embarrassing because it's open to the public in many states, not every state, but in many states it's open to the public. So who wants their business out there like that? But if you got to do it, you have to do it. But the second step, once you've jumped that first hurdle of convincing the judge that that person cannot manage that business on their own, then you have to ask the judge to let it be you or whoever you're nominating. Now, I've been involved in many situations where the court didn't appoint the loved one. I had a case where the court didn't appoint the wife to handle business for the father, for the husband, because the daughters didn't like their mom and they caused trouble. This was early in my practice, didn't like the mom and showed up to court arguing against it, and it was a big mess in court. And because the family was so dysfunctional, at least on that topic, the court didn't appoint the mom or the daughters. The court appointed a lawyer to be fully in charge of all of that stuff for the dad. That's not what he would have wanted. Well, you can show up to court and you can show that you should be the person in charge of making that health care or well-being, those decisions for that person, guardianship, or handling money for that person, conservatorship. Keep in mind, typically in most states, those are two separate proceedings. So don't file for guardianship if you're trying to handle the money. Don't file for conservatorship if you're trying to make medical decisions for the person. You got to do both, and you will have twice the cost, but just keep that in mind. It's important to put those things in place though, because there are a lot of things that go on in the life of a person when they can't make decisions for themselves. Life still goes on. And so somebody needs to have the authority to handle that for them. And if you haven't put powers of attorney in place appointing that person, only a court can give them that authority through these processes. So we want to make sure that you understand that. Here's what I would tell you. Make sure you see an attorney before doing it. Real quick story on that point. I had a client who, before she was a client, she and her brothers just realized that their dad had developed full-blown dementia. He hadn't gotten diagnosed, but they could just tell. Well, they decided they needed to take care of him. And so she was a daddy's girl of daddy's girls. And she went to take care of her dad. Her brothers lived out of state and realized a friend told her to go file for conservatorship. And so she did. Well, once she filed for conservatorship, they told her on the way out to let us know if you need money. File a petition and we'll make sure you get the money that you need. Well, so she left and she started taking care of Dad, realized that he had a little less money in his account than she had told the court. And she went back to court because she needed money to move him. And when she filed asking for $10,000 and told the court that Dad had $10,000 less in his account than she originally said, that raised a flag for the court, and the court suspended her and launched an investigation against her. Now remember, she's doing this all by herself, and she had not consulted an attorney. This was a neighbor who told her that she should pursue this. Speaking of which, quit listening to your neighbors unless they specialize in whatever it is you're trying to do. Well, fortunately, at that point in time, she hired me, and through a series of events, we were able to repair her image, show the court that she was trying to do the right things because we know the rules and we know what's important to the judge, and then make sure that she could go on as his conservator, managing the money for him in the right kind of way. And we were successful in all of that. She got restored. It was all great. And by the time he passed, when I went to file the final paperwork to let the court know he had passed, the judge, who she thought hated her in the beginning, came out to find her, to give her a big hug, to tell her she did a great job supporting her dad. So conservatorship and guardianship are great tools when you need them. You make sure you secure someone who knows what they're doing to help you find how to approach it, and then operate according to the rules that the court has put in place around those tools. But as we talked about in the previous episode, if you can, create powers of attorney so that you can keep your family out of that situation altogether. Guardianship and conservatorship, what this episode was all about, episode 6. Thank you for taking time to watch. As you're listening, you might be wondering, what's the next step for me? If you're ready to start securing your family's future, head over to tquinn25.com and book a free consultation with me. Together, we'll create a plan tailored to your specific needs. But don't wait. Your future deserves it.